There are some phrases in English where the dictionary just doesn't help. Not at all. Their real meaning is kind of hidden, locked away in a sort of cultural code. Well, today, we're going to crack that code together.
And to really get what I mean, let's just jump right in with a question. Imagine someone looks you dead in the eye and says this one phrase. Is it a friendly offer, or is it a challenge to a fight?
Do you want a piece of this? See, the right answer completely depends on the context. Are they holding a birthday cake or are they clenching a fist? So let's explore how you can actually tell the difference.
A really great way to think about all this is with something called the cultural iceberg. The words you actually hear, that's just the tiny little tip you can see. The real meaning, the tone, the situation, the history behind it, that's the massive, invisible part of the iceberg hiding right under the surface.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start right on the surface with some simple, everyday shortcuts. Then we'll go a little deeper to look at social cues. After that, a true deep dive into shared culture. We'll even talk about the hidden dangers before we wrap up with what this all means for you. So first step, we're at the very top of that iceberg. And honestly, these are the easy ones. We're talking about those super quick transactional phrases you hear all the time in places like stores or cafes, where it's all about being efficient. For example, in an American grocery store, you probably won't hear, "Ma'am, would you prefer a paper or a plastic bag for your items?" You'll just hear, "paper or plastic." Or at a coffee shop, it's just, "here to go." They're not commands. They're just super condensed questions. The culture of speed and convenience has trimmed off all the extra words. So yeah, these are basically just conversational shortcuts. And the great thing is, once you know the script for that situation, they're incredibly easy to understand. This is the most straightforward layer of our iceberg, for sure. All right, let's dip just below the surface of the water now. This is where things get a lot more interesting. Because here, the social context and your tone of voice become absolutely everything. The same words can mean completely different things. Okay, take this one. Give me a shout when you're ready. Now, if you took that literally, you might think you're supposed to actually yell at the person. But no, in a friendly, informal chat, it just means, "Hey, let me know," or "give me a call." It has absolutely nothing to do with volume. Now, here's where it gets really tricky. The phrase, "why don't you?" This little phrase can be one of the kindest, most helpful suggestions you can make. Or it can be one of the most passive-aggressive and critical commands. I mean, just think about the two extremes, right? If your friend sees you're exhausted, them saying, "why don't you drink a cup of coffee?" is a really nice offer. But if someone is totally fed up with you, "why don't you just leave me alone?" is a harsh command. It's the exact same starting words, but the meaning is the polar opposite, and it all comes down to tone and context. Okay, time to take a deep dive. We're going way down into the iceberg now, into the part that's all about shared culture. These are the phrases that are almost impossible to get if you don't know the specific movie or the sport or the event that they came from. Have you ever heard someone raise a glass and say this? "Here's looking at you, kid." If you just read those words, they make almost zero sense. But it's one of the most iconic lines from the classic movie Casablanca. And this is a perfect example of how pop culture creates a kind of secret code. That one line from a film has become a totally normal, widely understood way to make a toast. It's really just another way of saying cheers or to your health. And it isn't just old movies. Think about all those TV legal dramas. They've given us the word objection. Now, in a real courtroom, that's a super formal, serious thing. But in your living room, people use it all the time, kind of humorously or dramatically, to just say, "hey, I totally disagree with you." Or what about the world of sports and gambling? If a team has won 5 straight games, you'd say they're on a winning streak or on a roll. And if you've just had a terrible week at work, you might say, "ugh, I'm on a losing streak." You're borrowing the language of games to talk about the ups and downs of everyday life. Okay, now we need to come back up for a second and talk about the most treacherous part of this whole iceberg. We're talking about those phrases where, if you get it wrong, you could end up in a seriously awkward or maybe even a dangerous situation. And this brings us right back to where we started. Do you want a piece of this? If someone says it while gesturing to a pizza, it's a friendly, delicious invitation.
But if they say it while puffing out their chest and giving you a death stare, it is a direct challenge to a fight. One phrase, two completely different worlds. So, how do you avoid total disaster? You have to become a kind of cultural detective, and it's actually a pretty simple 3-step mental checklist. First, just scan the situation. Is there food anywhere? Second, listen closely to the tone of voice. Is it friendly or is it aggressive? And third, look at the body language. Is it open and relaxed, or is it tense and confrontational? So, we've made the whole journey from the very top of that cultural iceberg all the way down to its hidden, deep foundations. And the big takeaway here is about so much more than just a few quirky sayings. Look, at the end of the day, getting good at this isn't about memorizing a giant list of idioms from a textbook. The real skill is learning to read the situation, to listen for the music behind the words, and to really get that language is tied directly to the culture that uses it. It's all about looking beyond the dictionary.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question. Think about your own life, your own experiences with language, whether it's English or any other. What are some of those phrases you've come across where the literal meaning was just the tiny little tip of a giant cultural iceberg?